What's up, baseballers? Welcome to the Dingers and Discourse, a Mario baseball podcast. I am joined today with Matt Gree, the Muted Assassin, and Vickless Falcon. This is Clutch hosting this week. Raviannn, unable to join us, got oral surgery, got some wisdom teeth out or something. I don't know, skill issue, should have still shown up, but get well soon. I know he's currently doing some producing for Big Balla, which we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get right into our weekly roundup. Little League 2 signups are currently occurring. We got 12 participants at the time of recording. Matt Gree, why don't you give the fans at home an explanation of Little League?
All right, so not a lot of people have been around in the server for as long as me and some of the older people in the server. And so Little League 1 is one of the most historic tournaments in Mario Baseball server. It is the second longest running Stars Off tournament series. It was the first Stars Off tournament not to be NPSS. So it has a lot of history behind it. The original TO, Big Daddy, unfortunately no longer in the server, but I felt like I needed to contribute and pick up the TO mantle myself. Last tournament, it was Hell's Hero taking me down in the winners, the finals of that tournament. And so Little League Tournament is all about giving a spotlight to some of the smallest characters on the field. So by height-wise, there are 8 characters that you're going to be forced to choose. So first of all, we're starting off with the 2 youngest / shortest looking captains. So we got Big Bowser Jr. as your captain and Diddy. And each player is going to pick one of those characters. And then the other 6 characters, which are also forced to be on your team, are Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Green Koopa, Monty Mole, Red Toad, and PD Piranha, probably the most controversial Little Leaguer. He somehow forged his papers to get into the sneak in there as one of the shortest characters. Not sure how legal it was. Lakitu didn't look too closely at those papers, but I think these characters bring a great balance. We got PD, who's a heavy hitter, and just a lot of great variety in characters. And so it's not all just like singles and dinky hits. You can do some stuff here in Little League. And then finally, you're gonna the rule set that we've determined is that you're gonna get one final character to choose from. You get a little bit of pick selection here. You get to choose from Green Para, Red Koopa, or Dixie, 3 of the next smallest characters. There's also some other characters, but they don't fit the Little League brand. And so based on that, we've just gone with this rule set. So it's going to be a single day bracket running Sunday, August 28th. It's the actual day of the Little League World Series, the championship. So great timing on that front. And it's just given a great spotlight to some of these smaller characters that don't get picked as much. But I also think it's kind of a fun rule set because you don't get to see all these characters very often. But then additionally, you do get PD and you get some real threats on the plate. You can pick up Green Perry, you get a star hit, and we can give some spotlight to a Diddy star hit, a Bowser Jr. Star hit, or even some grounder star hits. And I have a lot of fun playing it. Me and Vickless have played a game or 2 recently. I played Hell's Hero in it. We had a rematch of the title match, and I actually took that game. So there's just been some fun events with it, or not really events, but just some games played. And I think it's just a fun event to rip out every once in a while. Once a year is what we're going to be doing it as. So yeah, second annual tournament coming up very soon. Sign up for it. 12 signups already. Seating's based on regions and then ELO. So you'll get grouped into people who are close to you geographically as they do in the real Little League World Series. So just a bit of a mix-up tournament, fun tournament, one-day tournament signups.
Yeah, and in the games we were playing with the 3 characters you get to choose from, I think you could make an argument for all 3. I think the character that'll probably get picked the most is Green Paratroopa, just because you get the line drive star hit. But if you did want to pick Red Koopa to get Falcon Pop, plus you can pair Green Koopa and Red Koopa, get that chemistry. Or if you want to have a different pitcher, if you don't want to pitch Diddy, or any of the other characters, you can pick Diddy and pitch with Dixie, and also maybe get some Diddy and Dixie chemistry either in the field or at the plate. So gives you a few options. I think it's going to be a great tournament, and the seedings and the regionals, or the regions for each player, will be fun as well.
Yeah, like Vickless said, the thing here is, like, it's not you have a great pitcher on your team, you have a great batter in PD, and then it's really just about picking up the slack with some of those lesser pick characters, being able to land some slap hits through the gaps. And The babies, especially, they're super tiny. You can misplay a ball in the outfield. And it opens up a lot of decisions to make on where to place characters in the field. I personally have a few opinions so far. I think putting a baby at second base might be a very viable option just to hide them there. But there is a lot of thought and place for player choice and where you want to put your characters.
I'm sure people will ask, and just to be clear, this is the in-game coded heights that we have data mined, and were these in place for the first Little League too?
Yes, so we've changed the rule set very slightly. I'm not 100% sure on who all 9 characters were. I know all of the 8 predetermined characters were forced upon you, so that's staying almost identical, and we just wanted to bring it a little bit of choice. But yeah, right as you mentioned, these heights are straight from the data mine. So obviously PD looks a lot taller than the babies, but in the game's code, they're very, very similar heights. And so that's how PD gets sneaks in here to the Little League.
All right. Well, that'll be a fun tournament to keep an eye out on. Like I said, you guys have until August 28th is when the bracket's going. So I'm sure signups will be open for a little bit after the pod goes up. So definitely check it out. And if you're interested, I also really like the idea of the geographical seedings. Like I said, you're going to kind of, we don't have that. Like, who's the king of US Central? Who's the king of US East? I know that's, a couple big spots, but then we have some notable West Coast people too. So really interested to see what happens here in Little League. But definitely go sign up for that. Thanks, Matt, for putting that together for the community. Now we're going to go to another tournament that signups will not be open by the time the podcast goes up, but it will be just starting. Wrestle at the Castle Stadium Series 3. 23 participants signed up right now at the time of recording. Like I said, pools will be going by the time the pod goes up. Vickless, as TO, their whole reason of doing the Stadium Series is to find new discoveries with stars on stadiums that people haven't really explored because they kind of jump all over the place. What findings are you expecting as we go into Wrestle at the Castle this time?
Yeah, so the tournament format, I'm going to change it up a little bit this time. The last 2 have been just straight up double elimination, bracket style. We're going to go back to pool play. We're going to do 4-person pools. So that'll guarantee each player gets at least 6 ranked games. That'd be 2, even if they got 0-2'd every series, they'd still get 6 ranked games in. Probably with Bowser Castle, I think that people are going to realize that I personally think it's more of an offensive park than a defensive park. It's somewhat defensive in terms of limiting home runs, but like you can hit a perfect off of the thwomp, but it's hanging in the air for so long that you're at least going to get a double or maybe even a triple, and you're going to clear the bases. So, and then with the data mine as well that some people in the community have done to find out the stadium sizes, Bowser Castle is actually one of the shorter stadiums. Obviously, the walls are kind of what makes up for what people think of it, but in terms of the height or the length out to the outfield, it's one of the shortest stadiums in the game. So I think people are going to realize that you can pick an offensive lineup and you can basically just hit balls off the thwomps, off the wall, and then it kind of has short corners at the very edge, like of the left and right sides of the field, where you can kind of sneak over a home run. And then another feature of Bowser Castle is if you have curved trajectory and you hit towards one of the thwomps and it curves over toward the other one, sometimes that thwomp won't drop down and you're able to kind of get a free home run at that way. So I'll be interested to see where the 3 curved characters get drafted a lot, especially see where Bowser gets drafted a lot. He can just kind of tee off onto the thwomps in right field. So I think it's going to be super interesting. A lot of good players have signed up. A lot of players that haven't played in the first 2 stadium series have also signed up. So really interested to see what type of lineups people do. I know last night I saw in Big Balla, I saw Remke playing Caesarito, and Remke, it was at Bowser Castle, and Remke was playing Toadette, Peach, Toadsworth, just had this whole chem train going and was just hitting bombs with Peach at Bowser Castle. So I'll be interested to see what type of lineups people can put together for stars on. But I think we'll try and get to 24 participants. We're needing 1 or 2 more right now. So if we can get to 24, that'd be 6 4-person pools. It'd be a nice even number, and probably go from there.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. It's the first Stadium Series I'm actually able to participate in. And really the first Starzon series I've ever participated in since around Starzon Showdown 3 or something like that. So super excited to get back in the Starzon grind. I know I'm in big ball as well. And just something I've noticed just today, I saw a couple of big volley games on Bowser's Castle, and I saw Bowser absolutely destroy there. Not getting home runs, hitting the thwomps a couple times, but his first two at bats, Chris Toasty put up 2 triples in Bowser's Castle, just able to get the ball off there, and then it bounced around, and it's just hard to field sometimes when it gets bouncing out there. So from what I've seen, I think the power hitters are still very viable there because you can get those perfect hang up in the air, not going to be able to be wall jumped as easily, and just bounce around out there, get some doubles and triples. And then, like Vickle said, the curve trajectory. I didn't see any curve trajectory go out, but I've heard that it's very good, and I've seen it in action where the thwomps just don't recognize where the ball is going to end up. So I'm definitely really excited to participate. Going to be looking at some players tier list definitely to inform my draft because I'm not the traditional Starzon player.
Yeah, one other point you brought up there with wall play. I think wall play is going to be huge in this tournament just because if you misplay the ball off of a wall or a thwomp, it can go from a single to a triple. Maybe we'll see some more clammers in center field, and then even though you have a clammer, you have to decide: do I want to go up and try to catch this ball, or is it too high? Like I'm not going to get there in time. I just have to come back down or not even go up in the first place and just let it come back to me. So. And then like running out to the wall, like do you try and wall jump, because you can wall jump below the thwomps and be able to catch the ball still at times. So like just deciding whether to wall jump or super jump or not jump at all. People will have to take chances, maybe take some risks in trying to catch out there and trying to prevent doubles and triples.
One other aspect I want to bring up as well is the wall splat. I saw Cesarito get a couple wall splat. You got to try and avoid that wall splat out there. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's very, very, very costly if you do accidentally miss input and get it.
Yeah, you're up against the walls all the time at Bowser. I think we kind of talked about it. The straight line trad people, power hitters, Bowser, Bro, if you're going hammer, PM. I think you have to really make really solid contact. Otherwise, then you're playing off the thwomps, which still plays really well, but doubles or triples is different than a homer if you're able to shut down people behind them. But yeah, the curve shreds are so huge there. And yeah, the walls are, like I said, it's a small park. It just plays big because of how tall the walls are. But perfect homers will still go out over the walls, so that's always a fun time. But really interested again to see more meta development from Stadium Series. I am signed up for my first Stadium Series, so I'm excited. I like playing at Bowser's Castle. Usually I think it treats me really well, but it didn't earlier tonight. So we'll talk about that with Big Baller later. But anyways, Wrestle at the Castle, keep an eye out on that series. NBA Cup. Top 8 has started. Hells beat Matt Gree to send him to the loser side earlier this week. This one just went final before we started recording. Crazy beat Boomerang Bro 15-5. The defending NPSS champ falls to the Wonderkud. I can't say it right, so I don't even know why I went for it. But Matt Gree and Boomer will play in losers round to stay alive. Jason and Joe are probably playing right now on Dinger City's stream as we film, and if they're not yet, I'm going to check out as soon as we're done. And then otherwise, me and Remke are supposed to play this week as well. So you should hear about top 6 by the time we get to next pod, and hopefully a final date for asynchronous finals. I know it's been asynchronous at this point, and I'll keep running it that way if that's what works, but I really would like to consolidate the best talent at the end. But in terms of storylines left over, I guess anything we're looking forward to as we wind down the first iteration of the NBA Cup?
I don't know storyline wise. I just want to kind of reflect on my game versus Hell's Hero, at least. So me and Hell's Hero match up quite a lot in tournaments. Spring series finales we've matched up, NPSS's, NPSS 10 we matched up, I think NPSS 9 we matched up. We are always finding each other in tournaments, and Hell's usually smacks me around a lot. Sometimes it's close, but I'm overall record versus Hell's Hero is atrocious. I mean, I think I'm maybe have 3 wins. He probably has at least 20 against me, so can't be too unhappy with a loss. But this time especially, I felt good about my loss. I only gave up 6 runs, and that's a win for me. I mean, I wasn't able to produce at the plate, only scored 2 runs. I had a couple opportunities where I could have done better, but giving up only 6 runs to Hell Zero is definitely a win. I mean, spring series, he mercied me. Sometimes I have close games and I lose. So in NPSS 10, I know he got 5 runs on me in the 8th inning. I lost 6-4, I think. That was a rough loss. But me and Hells, either it's really close or he blows me out. It's never a big win for me. So keeping it close at least was good for me. And I'm going to go down to losers, play Boomerang Bro. And we were talking about it earlier in the before we started the podcast, but I feel like me and Boomerang Bro are pretty similar play styles. We're not the best pitchers. I'll admit I'm a pretty bad pitcher, but offensively, I'm a lot more solid. Boomerang Bro, I feel like, is the same way. I think he'll admit that as well. And so it's going to be a great game between us. Last time I played Boomerang Bro was right before NPSS 11, my game with Clutch. Right before that, I played a 3-game series with Boomerang Bro. I beat him 2-1 in that series, mercied him in the last game. And then before that, me and Boomerang Bro played a 9-game series, and he bested me in that 5-4. So we've had a lot of games somewhat recently within the last month, and it's going to be a toss-up. It can go either way, and it might not even be a close game, but just know that we're very close players because he's mercied me in that 9-game series. I mercied him. It just depends on which way the ball's landing and whose offense it can really produce.
Yeah, I don't have too many storylines I've been following other than like my bracket was me and Walrus, who have been playing a ton recently and ended up getting the best of him in that game. And then got to play Jason again. Still haven't beat Jason since I've joined the Discord. It was 4-2, really close game. And so Jason advanced, and now he's playing Mr. Joe. So cool to see a Dinger City matchup there. I mean, I think the main storyline is Remke going to drop a game, basically. Like, I just feel like even though he's kind of been on a couple weeks break here, since season 3 started, he's been virtually unbeatable in stars off. I think he's dropped 2 out of 39 games since the season started. One was to Toasty. I think it maybe was even extra innings, and then the other one was to Cactus. So really playing at a top level right now. We're going to see Krasny and Hell's Hero match up again. They've matched up, a few times in MPSS, so that's always fun. So, and then, we'll see potentially there, what happens on the other side. But, I'm interested to see if Remke even drops a game in this.
I fully expect to be seeing the loser of Joe and Jason. I will just say that right now, which will be an incredible game. I've played both of them really good. There's a shot to beat Remke. I think it's right now, but yeah, is he even gonna drop one? I think it's hard.
You're playing Remke in this matchup you have.
Yes, I am. So we'll see what happens. He definitely has my number for the most part. I usually don't hit well against him, so it's a matter of if I can hold him in to scratch out a couple runs. But usually that doesn't happen either. So, like I said, I think he's the number 1 stars off player for a reason. And he's clearly on there on the ELO board, and we'll get to that later as well. But enough NBA Cup for right now. Super excited about how it's turned out and can't wait to announce some probable changes to the fall series after we get through this one. But the phenomenon that has been sweeping the Discord server this week, Big Ball of 3, Baltor's Big Birthday Bash, 42 participants. As far as I know, that's the biggest Stars On tournament ever. It's a special subset of Stars On, but it is still Stars On. You star those characters. They're star races. There's just no star skills. Notable games so far at the time of recording, Walrus, the 8 seed, got upset by Sam N and then played me in a close game right after. I had to score 6 unanswered in the last 3 innings to take Sam down. So good showing for him so far. Kirby Smart Burner, who had a nice run in Garden Stadium Series, if I remember right, Peaches, upset Baltimore 11-1 and then beat Maury 4-1. So now he's going to get one of the 3 of Hells and the Joe Meister need to play, and then winner of that will play Matt Grease. So Kirby Smart Burner making a name in this big baller bracket. Remke was the first one to lock a spot in top 8, beat Krasny last night 10-3. Toasty absolutely blew me out earlier, 10-0. It was not even competitive. I don't even know why I showed up. So he's in winner size top 8 as well. Initial thoughts on Big Baller 3. I mean, I think this is the widest pool of players we've had. I think people are trying things. I'm curious what you two have seen as participants yourself.
Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and go. So yeah, so far, I think the top players have definitely been showing out. Toasty has won every game by 10 runs. Remke last night played Krasi, held him to 3 runs, which is, Krasi's one of the best offensive players in the server. So super impressive performance for Remke, especially after being off for a couple weeks. But yeah, I think, like you said, a few weeks back, Thundergun Express and Kirby Smartburner came into the Discord and they wanted to play Big Balla. We didn't have anything going on, so they just jumped into the Peach Garden tourney. And Thundergun Express beat Brua in Peach Garden tourney, and then I got matched up with Thundergun first round of Big Balla, and I only won 3-2. It was a super close game. Both of us were pitching really well. So just barely squeaked by there, and then Thundergun won his first losers game. And then his buddies Kirby Smartburner, I guess they played it a lot in college. So, kind of an integrosity situation. So Kirby Smartburner won his first game 10-3, and then ended up mersing Baltor and squeaking by Mori as well. So super cool to see that happening. I think the loser side, will be really interesting. Some names floating down there, include Krasi, yourself, Clutch, Big Nick, myself, and Baltor are playing later tonight. So that should be a fun matchup, and the winner will most likely get to play Caesarito. So in terms of what I've seen on the field, I think one thing I've noticed is that I feel like there's only been one character that can consistently get on base, and that's Donkey Kong. Just through his slap hit is just as good as it is in Stars Off. It really lands nicely in short left field, even with Stars On extra boost. So I right now I kind of think he's 1A, 1B, probably with Bowser as the number 1 pick in any draft. I try to pick Boo almost every game, just kind of for the same reason. I think the slap is pretty good. Plus, you get elite pitching. But yeah, we've seen, like I said before, we saw Remke doing a huge chemtrain with kind of the Peach hero core with Toadsworth and Mario, and he was putting Mario in right field and Peach at first base, and got a couple of 9-3 putouts that way. So really interesting to see some of the lineup combinations, since you don't have star skills to rely on. You kind of have to try and build some chemtrains, and then after that, depending on the stadium, with we have the stadium strikes, which is cool too. Just trying to hit a home run or two and drive those runs in.
Yeah, I think Baltor's done a really good job just TOing this whole tournament series, the advertising, just getting the word out there about Big Ball. We've seen a lot of requests for Big Ball matchups and matchmaking the chat there. And then the seeding stream, that was super fun to have people arguing for them to be higher seeds, getting people involved in that way. And so it's just been super fun. And then for me, I got seeded 13, which I thought was way too high. I'm not a Stars On player. I don't know how I ended up there at that 13 spot. But my first game, I played Blizzard and took that game 5-2. So I'm waiting for that matchup between me and potentially Hell's Hero again, or see an upset and have face the Joe Meister. But it's just been a really fun series. I've been able to watch a lot of the games. A lot of people have been streaming it, and there's a big stream going on right now. So it's just a lot of exposure to this new emerging game mode, which I think is definitely going to pick up even more after this tournament, because it's just so fun. It's a 9-inning game that differentiates it from the Stars On specifically. Some people have been wanting that more so in Stars On, and so that's one thing it picks up. And then Balter's just been really good at listening to what people want to see in it. So we've Bobbles back on after their disappearance in Big Ball 2, and then we're opening up to every stadium. So just a lot of new additions and changes, and Balter's been really really good at making changes to where people want to see the game mode to move.
I think it looks great. I know we were already talking about having another quick turnaround, because the Big Baller 2 was maybe in May or June at the latest. I know Remke was in it, I was in it, but we were both kind of newer. I think he wants to have a quicker turnaround this time. I think until there's a ranked leaderboard, we'll probably see tournaments happening pretty often. to kind of keep that momentum, because we saw it with UU got really popular for 3 days, had a tournament, and then after the tournament no one wanted to play. And I get the feeling that this may not be the same case with Big Baller, especially if there's an announcement of another one coming, that people will keep it in their repertoire of, I gotta practice some Big Baller, or at least play Stars on to keep fresh. So awesome job by Baltor, and I am sure since it will happen by the time this pod goes up, we would have all had a great time at Baltor's birthday bash on Thursday night. So hopefully a lot of people came out for that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the other part of it too. Is like it was for Baltor's birthday, and Baltor's a pretty likable guy, and one of the most respected people in the server. And I think people just wanted to come out and support him as well. So I think that's kind of another reason why we've seen such a huge turnout. And like if he keeps doing it, like I think we'll see 42. Like would we get to that next time? I don't know. Depends on the format, I suppose. But I think that's definitely why we've seen a huge turnout here.
Yeah, and such a generous man, Baltor, putting up $100 of his own money to the winner of this tournament. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll see the same numbers again, but from what I can tell, it's been a hit with and what I think is most important about a tournament series that's going to live on, been a hit with the mid-tier players. Like I've seen mid-tier players get absolutely blown out in round 1, and they're still asking for games of matchmaking. Like, I got to warm up for next one. I got to get better. Like, people are interested in continuing to play, even if they're getting beat up in bracket right now. So even if they're not having competitive games, they're having fun, which tells you that people are liking the mode. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Baltor's done an absolute great job, and he'll continue to be the keeper as the original Big Baller. But we will see who takes the title this time. I think we've seen Toasty is absolutely on a tear right now. He's the defending champ. Baltor got knocked down, so I don't know how much of a chance he has. He's got a really tough road to even get to top 8. But then otherwise, Remkiri locked in his spot. And I'm curious, I think one of Boomer or Flatbread, whoever wins that one, I think that's kind of your 3 horses to watch out for. Whoever wins that Boomer Flatbread game to get into top 8 on winner's side, and then Remkey and Toasty. Those are my 3 picks to watch out for. We'll see if it holds. Moving on. Done with the weekly roundup. That was all the action heading up in the Discord server this week. We will go to viewer comments, and this one is from one MPSS champ to another, from Krazy. For those who did not know, last week on the pod, we had the absolute pleasure of having Boomerang Bro on. Got to interview him. Raviannn and I had a great time with that interview. He was so enjoyable to have. He was really great insights, really great conversation about his tournament runs. But here's what Krazy had to say about Boomerang Bro after that episode. Boomerang Bro to me is the definition of high confidence leading to elite results. Obviously, he's a gifted Mario baseball player, but I feel it's his confidence in his abilities and knowledge of the game that raises him to another level. He knows how good he is, and he's able to perfectly capitalize on this. High confidence has the ability to turn a good player into a great one in the big tournament moments. Vickless and Muted Assassin, both of you are also people that live around that upper echelon of Mario baseball players in this server. How do you think confidence can affect a player going into a big tournament? And do you think Boomerang Bro is one of those players that was vaulted by their confidence with how open MPSS 11 looked?
Yeah, definitely. I think confidence is just such a very underrated part of the game. I think a lot of times in the server we're talking about 600 IQ channel type of stuff, like characters, what are their trajectories, what are their batting abilities, what are their fielding abilities, etc. Team composition. But if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, you're not sure what you're doing. You're really going to struggle, especially at the top level. I think a lot of top players have went through that, trying to find themselves. I think we've always kind of known Boomerang Bro has been a pretty good offensive player. But like we'd seen in Stars on Showdown, he got second place like 3 times or something like that. But over the last month or so, he's just reached another level, and a lot of it is just like the confidence in certain characters, like King Boo, for example. He bats a lefty King Boo. And he, just loves King Boo, will always try to get King Boo, tries to get Diddy Kong a lot. Pretty much has Diddy Kong's star slice hit down to a T, can hit it almost every time. So it's kind of things like that, just trying to figure out your niche. I know like all three of us have had runs in tournaments, and just like looking back on like the Peach Garden tourney, for example, like I had a strategy going in, and I was very confident, and I was just like, I'm not going to take any of the heavies. I'm just going to try and pitch my way, get some star hits, play some defense, and like nobody else was trying to do that quite yet, and it worked out. So just if you have confidence in what you're doing, and like what you're good at, and now that we kind of have some stat pulling available, a lot of players are starting to figure out, what characters am I good with, what characters should I maybe avoid. That can really help your confidence, just because it's gonna boost your stats and your hitting, and help out with your strategy as well. So I guess when it comes to confidence, like those are kind of the things I look at, just figuring out what you're good at, maybe what your weaknesses are, and then with your weaknesses you can either just kind of avoid them, or continue to work on them, but you can really lean on your strengths. And Boomerang Bro is a great example of leaning on his strengths.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't call myself a confident player. I would say I'm more honest with myself. When I go into matchup with Hell's Hero, I'm gonna be like 9 times out of 10, I'm probably not winning this game. But I think the most important thing, if you are a more like honest player versus like, oh, I'm gonna win this game, it doesn't matter what the matchup is, I'm just gonna win. I think if you're more of the honest type like me, just looking at things like that, I think the most important thing to do is just to play your best, no matter what your thoughts are going into the matchup. Because for me personally, it doesn't matter going into a matchup whether I think I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. I'm going to try and play my best. It doesn't boost me for me personally thinking like, oh, I can win this game all the time or anything like that. So I think just as a more honest with myself, just being able to put out your best effort, even if you might not win the matchup that you're going into, is important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I would say I'm kind of fall into that honest category too. Like when I'm going up against a big player, I think reality is like, well, if they play their best and I play my best, they're probably going to win. But the great thing about Mario Baseball is you can try your best, and then the cards will fall where they may. Maybe your opponent just hits a lot of nice balls, but they line out to infielders, or you make some sliding catches in the outfield, and all of a sudden you get a couple people on base and you get like a really nice star hit and you can score a couple runs. So, you don't have to be the better player going into a matchup to win a game. I think that's what keeps gravitating people toward this game is, on any given game, you can pull off the upset, if you have a couple things go your way and you're playing your best. So definitely agree about, just trying to control what you can control. There's a lot of outlying factors in the game that you can't worry about. You just got to focus on every single pitch you're making, every single swing or taking a strike that you're making, or taking a ball, for example. So, just controlling what you can control, and playing your best, and then the results will come.
I actually kind of forgot about this till just now, but talking about confidence, and was Boomerang Bro confident? In our losers finals matchup, we were talking in the net play chat beforehand, and we were talking about, we're like, oh, Pokes had this plot armor, he gets the BJ bobble, Luigi inexplicitly doesn't catch a wall jump homer. We're like, you know what? We're like, good luck, have fun. Whoever wins this game is taking the whole thing, is what we both said to each other. And obviously, I lose on a walk-off, and Boomerang Bro goes on to win it. So we were both confident going into that game. We played a heck of a game, and in the end, our prediction came true of whoever won that game was winning the whole thing. So I think confidence is a huge thing. If anything, I think you could kind of see it from Poke after MPS finished, was talking about how he felt that pitching wasn't a repeatable skill, and he felt that his pitching was going to get hit. And I think it kind of showed up in how the finals went. I think his pitching did fall off. That's his claim to fame. That's what he needs to be confident in to be playing at his top level. And I think it fell off a little bit, and he was still competitive in game one of that finals, but I don't think he didn't have the same edge he had in semis and winners finals. So very interesting thing to talk about confidence. usually something that doesn't come up too much in professional sports, but that's because those people have been confident their whole life to make it all the way to the big stage. And Mario Baseball is different in that you can just pick up the game and start playing against the best. So completely different ball game in that sense.
Yeah, one more thing I want to add. Going into that bracket play, I was going up against Clutch. We had a whole week to think about the matchup, and internally, I was feeling pretty confident, but I didn't want to project that onto the Discord. There were multiple times I didn't want to say anything in the Discord, or I went on the podcast. I didn't want to say anything too extreme there, being like, "Oh, I'm going to win this matchup." And
yeah, nobody picked me.
Nobody picked you, but I didn't go as far as I kind of felt like I could put myself out there in terms of my ability, and then I end up losing. So, I mean, you got to know when to be honest and when to just draw the line and be like, all right, this is a lot closer than you're thinking about it. Even there, I was over exaggerating my chances to win that game, and I didn't end up winning. So, I mean, at least I didn't put out a bunch of crazy statements or anything like that.
Yeah, that is there a line of confidence, self-confidence into cockiness, and staying on the correct side of that line. Some players can play cocky and back it up, but some players I think just need to be self-confident and kind of stay in their lane. Else they're gonna kind of psych themselves out, I think. So very interesting point, and very good point there, Matt. All right. Next topic for today, the trajectory discoveries by Roaming. Again, another decompilation project. Bits and pieces of this has already been out there. I think Roaming just kind of finally went back and bundled it all together for us. So trajectory, and I'll kind of run through it, and then we'll kind of talk about the meta impact, which isn't much. It kind of confirms some things we thought, but kind of put some quantified it. So there are 5 cones of trajectory. And if you haven't seen this, it should be in my discoveries. You can look at the graphics themselves. There's 5 cones of trajectory, and 1 and 2 are very low. That'd be like your grounders and your liners. And then 3 is kind of mid. It'd probably be kind of like your low fly balls. And then 4 and 5 are ones that you could probably hit home runs on. And basically what the game does is when you make contact, it'll roll a number 1 to 5 and pick one of those cones. And then within that cone, there's still an angle that's random as well. So basically, did you get the highest traj, and then did you get a good angle or not? Did you get the 4th cone, but if you get a high angle, you're probably still able to hit it out. If you hit it 1 or 2, but you get a high angle on one of those, maybe those are the ones that kind of get through the hole in the infield. So that's kind of the idea behind how the game normally works with trajectory. The fun part then, though, is stick input. When you hold down, so you're trying to influence high trajectory, the bottom cone, that percentage, is added to the top cone. And then if you hold up, which is influencing lower trajectory, you take the top 2 percentages, those are impossible to hit, and you add that to the lowest trajectory. So basically, say you take a high traj character, they're going to have a very high percentage to hit it up high in the air. If you hold up, their highest percentage now is going to be on the ground because those top 2 cones get added to the bottom. And so then the really interesting thing, and I'll lead into where I want to let you two sound off on your opinions on if it changes anything or not. Low traj characters have a higher chance of hitting low traj than mid traj characters. And so if you add down input to a mid traj character, their top cone, the 5th cone, is a 28% chance of getting high traj, versus I believe low traj characters, because they have a higher low trajectory and that low trajectory gets added to their highest cone, it's either 34 or 38. The difference is that mid traj still then has 24% to hit in the 4th cone versus low traj has like 8 or something like that. So overall, 4 or 5 is more likely for mid traj, but 5 is more likely for low traj. So what I want to ask you two is, do you think low traj characters should have more value as home run hitters? And I think we can especially relate this to Big Balla, and Peach has had an absolute great tournament. So curious what you two have to say about the difference between low traj and mid traj characters when it comes to their probabilities.
I want to hop in here real quick. One clarification I want to make. You said that the game rolls a dice 1 to 5. I know you know this. I just want to clarify for the viewers. It's a little bit more complicated. There's different percentages for each cone based on the type of trajectory a character has. So a character that has high traj, let's say they make perfect contact with high traj, there's only going to be a 5% chance that that ball is one of the low cones versus someone with low traj. I'm not sure the exact percentages, but it'll be something like 30% that it's low traj, something like that. So it's a little, there's different percentages based on the trajectory of the character and the type of contact you make with the ball. But go ahead, Vickles.
Yeah, I guess I can talk on like the Stars On side of things since that's kind of what I'm playing more. But just from what I've seen in Big Balla, definitely I think makes an impact on Peach. And then I think one that we don't think about a lot is Magikoopa, just because Magikoopa is kind of an exclusive, slap/star hitter in Stars Off. But Red Mag, has I think 95 or 100 power in Stars On. So, and then like Blue Mag would have like 90. So with either one of those characters, you have a pretty good charge contact modifier with them as well. So if you're able to hold down and get a good push swing, you've got a decent chance of hitting a home run. So I think it probably in Stars On probably has the biggest impact with Magikoopa. Obviously Peach, just because the charge multiplier again with Peach is so big, and Peach doesn't really hit well in Stars Off. So her large chem tree kind of allows her to have a spot in Stars On. So she's probably the second most influenced character. After that, I'd probably have to go look through some of the other low charge characters. I mean, Red Pianta, obviously, you'd want to be holding down. I like to pick Blue Pianta in Stars On just to get the extra speed since I don't really use the Star Swing. And then maybe somebody like Red Noki, we could start, holding down as well. Paratroopa is another character I think that has low trajectory as well. So those are probably like the four characters I would look at in Stars On as potentially starting to try and hold down more. Try to launch some homers or at least some fly balls. You can get a sacrifice fly that way. And that could probably translate to Stars Off a little bit as well, like the sack fly aspect of the game. Just if you have one out to run around third, if you have a low traj or even mid traj, you could try and hold down and get that ball far enough in the outfield. You might not hit a home run, but it still might be able to help you score a run. Probably the biggest thing with it is just I've went back through some of my game logs to try and see if I put an input in or not, and a lot of times I don't when I think I did. So it might take some practice and using the training mode to make sure you're getting that stick input down, because it kind of has to happen like right as you're hitting. If you're doing it too early or too late, you're not going to get the input you want. So
yeah, and then I can talk a little Stars Off. So I think the biggest impact that people are looking for this to help with is potentially moving Firebro into a more meta position. And so with this, I still don't see Firebro moving in. I've done a little bit of paper calculation. I want to go back and confirm this, but I know a couple people have done the same calculation as well, so I'm going to mention it here. Is that doing down stick input with Firebro, while you do move that lowest traj cone up to the top, you still have the second lowest traj cone, which you're not going to be hitting home runs with, and that still has a higher percentage than you could get low traj with a high traj character like a Hammer Bro. So for that reason, I don't think Firebro benefits. I mean, it benefits a lot from holding down, but he's not going to be like overtaking Hammer Bro as the number one top pick top players make, because he could potentially get no low traj because of that thing. So the stick input, not as big of an impact there. And then someone with like Pianta, who's we've been seeing a lot more move to lefty Pianta to hit those home runs. I've always been you got to hold down with Pianta just to get the ball up there to potentially be a home run. So that's going to help a lot, because you're moving a lot of trajectory. You're moving around like 20 to 30% chance to get a high traj up to the top trajectory. And because of that, you're not going to hit as many line drives, and you could put some more balls out, but you're also going to put some more to the wall, to the warning track power. Pianta, if you don't get the greatest contact, you're not going to be putting the ball all the way out of the park. So Stars Off wise, right now, I don't see it being too big of a benefit. And then just looking at some of the stats that I've looked at before, I've never seen a character with significant down input that makes better slap hits, lands more slap hits than a character with no input. I thought for a while if you down inputted with Paratroopa, it would turn out better, but it turned out to be significantly worse. And that's because slap hitting and getting the highest trajectory possible, you're just going to pop out to the outfield a lot. and it's not as beneficial. Like it might look like it's better because like, oh, I hit it to the outfield, but rather than just hitting it on the ground, but at the same time, it's just going to be an out, and you could put that ball on the ground down the third base line and potentially still get a hit in that if you do have the low traj. So for that reason, I've stopped down inputting with Paratroopa, some of those other low traj characters who might, I don't even know that many low traj characters that get playing time, but yeah, you're not going to see this impact stars off a significant amount, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what it confirmed for me is that up input for slap hitters, because I've sometimes theorized, with when you're crushing it to the outfield, like, oh, maybe I should hold up here to keep that from out. You get the one or two lowest, you really need to be that 2 or third cone. And so with it getting added to 1 and 2, I don't think it's worth it. I think holding up is a death sentence for slap hitters. They just don't hit it hard enough through the infield. I think correct. I think Hammer Bro is still the number 1 bro, but the hot take I have is I think Fire Bro, if you consistently hold down, might be the second best. Just because you have the extra power over Boomer, and I don't think their trajectories are that different with the percentages if you're able to hold down. I think that might be the only case, but again, I still think there's so much of a gap. I don't know why you wouldn't just play Hammer Bro. Only reason, and we've talked about this for a while, if you need more average because you're not going to have chemistry, you go PD Bro, or you split up your lineup for some reason. If you have Bowser Bro, Boomerang Bro might not be a terrible idea to get the better average. Otherwise, I think the biggest thing is exactly that, Matt. And Vickless, you talked about going back and looking at your stat logs. How often am I getting down input? How am I getting that input? Right, left, I think is a lot easier because you can compensate. Like if you want to go left, you just start more right in the box. If you want to go left, if you want to go right, you go smart left in the box. So that last second when you push right and you move your character back, you're trying to put yourself in position to be where you want to hit the ball and have that input. Down input, the problem is that most people like playing at the front of the box to reduce the amount of time a pitcher has to make movement on their pitches. And so down input kind of changes your timing along with where the ball is going to be and where you make contact. And so you really have to wait as long as possible to make that input. And I think you're going to miss it sometimes if you're doing that. You could go back in the box to guarantee it, but it completely changes everyone's batting philosophy to this point. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see who can consistently do it. And do people do it by those last second inputs, or do they really try to find a way to hit the back of the box to guarantee it? So very interested to see what will happen there.
One more thing on this trajectory, I just want to go through a little bit of the numbers. So Clutch mentioned adding to that bottom trajectory and how it's not beneficial. And I want to say that that lowest trajectory there, you're going to go from like around at the lowest, it all depends on slap and charge, and there's all these different factors. But at the lowest angle you can get alpha bat is around negative 4.7 degrees. So if you're getting that low trajectory and you're getting unlucky, you can hit straight into the ground like right away. And then, I mean, everyone knew this. You don't get super high pop-ups in Mario Baseball. You don't get balls that go like straight up and come right back down to the pitcher's mound. And that's because the game limits yourself to around a 56 degree launch angle. Anything above that is not possible in Mario Baseball. So you really have like a 60 degree window of where hits can happen, which I mean, everyone kind of knew that. You can't foul balls behind you. You can't do any of that, but it's just interesting to see where those numbers come in and where the modding, how all the great work roaming's done can confirm all that we already knew. And don't really even think about, like, no one ever comes in the servers and be like, hey, why can't we hit a ball straight up in the air or anything like that? Why are there no foul behind the plate?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking, and also, by the way, the angles and the trajectories alter based off the quality of contact you get. I think nice and perfect are basically the same, but if you get sour contact, you can do some weird things, like those pop-ups that go to the pitcher's mound exclusively when you get sour contact. I think it's impossible to do when you have nice or perfect, because those will fly to the outfield every time with the way power gets output. So really interesting how the game delineates what you can possibly have with a hit based off a variety of factors that we continue to break down and continue to analyze to the nth degree to figure out if there's any advantage that we can get that we don't already know. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have all the low trage characters here if you wanted to know who they
Yeah, go
were.
ahead and read them off.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. So this is in order of charge size contact multiplier. So Peach is first, then Waluigi, Green Paratroopa, the four Mages, and then Red Para, Monty Mole, Toadette, the babies, Baby Luigi, Baby Mario, Dixie Kong, Fire Bro, Diddy Kong, Blue Noki, Red Noki, Paragoomba, the three Piantas, and then Green Noki. So that's all of them.
I'm going to say I was very uninformed. I did not know Waluigi was a low trage. That's something I probably should have known. And I guess it goes to a lot to why I like Green Para so much. I find their bats to be very similar, which makes a lot more sense now. Walu does get that push bonus, but Green Para not as much. He's the mid trage. So, but I've been doing a lot of experiments, and I feel like I've gotten Green Para slapped down very similar to Waluigi's, and I guess that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, and Waluigi has 50 slap power, which is one of the highest of all the low trage characters. I think tied with Red Mage. So I think that's why we see the Walu slap plus the push end up being so successful, even though it's low trage.
Very interested for Starzon, knowing that Green Para is above the Magikoopas. We just talked about how great that contact modifier for the Magikoopa is. If you charge, you make contact, it's high trage. I think it's out every time. He's really good. If we can get some chem going for Green Para, either behind Bowser, if Bowser gets a low tragedy or something like that. I don't know if Para will shoot up the ranks in Starzon tier list, but I think could be a similar philosophy to Peach. I'd be interested to see it tried out.
I want to mention one thing. I picked Green Para and Big Balla. I really like the bat stars off. I knew Wallow was a good slapper. I knew I like the bats. They're very similar. And so I picked Green Para, and I was slapping singles for days in my bit game. I was really impressed.
Especially in Starzon, when you bring the star skills back on. Line Drive Star Swing is really great, just like it normally is. So you have that in the arsenal, and then when you need a big bomb, like I said, similar idea to Peach. I don't know. Might be worth checking out. But that'll wrap it up for trajectory discussion for now. Got a few minutes left here in the pod today. And we wanted to take a look at the Season 3 leaderboard, kind of take a look at it, just an overall health of the community as we've gone through, and now that we are in over a month into this new format. So I have it up right here. I don't know if my fellow hosts have it up yet or not, but I'll give them a second.
Yep.
We'll kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at right now at time of recording. So top 5 stars off. Got Remke at 2004 ELO. Krasy 1963. Remke has 2 losses. We talked about those earlier. Krasy has 3. I forget what one of them was, but 2 of them are against me. So good on me. Boomerang Bro is 1922. He is 53 and 16. And then behind him at 1864 is myself at 66 and 16. So the dude has just beat more good players, which makes sense. He just won MPS S11 because he has the same amount of losses as me, just more wins, or I have more wins. And then Chris Toasty, 1826 behind at 5th place. So I know Poke was up there before. He's kind of had a post MPS slide. He played really well into MPS, lost the finals, and he's kind of had a slide coming out of it. So he's fallen down to 6. Cactus is sitting there dangerously at 7, at 9-0 right now. Hasn't been playing a ton, but I mean, probably the only undefeated player on the board right now. But otherwise, any other big names that you guys see that have kind of either shot up the board or bigger names that have fallen down since last season?
Well, I mean, we can't not mention Hell's Hero being only playing 7 games, so he's not going to be super high on the leaderboard. He's sitting there at 1522 ELO. But whenever he gets a chance to play some more games, he's going to shoot back up. I have a really unfortunate game against Krasy 2 days ago. I took him to the 12th inning and lost. Could have put that number 4 for him on the board, but just could not get the job done. It was 16-12 final score. But I've been on a bit of a losing streak, sitting there at 64% win rate. Not very good, but that's kind of how I play. I try and play as many top players as I can, try and get as many tough games in there as I can. And then I've had over the last 3 days, I played Matt 10 times. I split 5 and 5. So that cost me a lot of elo. And other than that, you see Schaub's making a return, top 8 right now. He made a fifth, tied for 5th place in NPSS, and he stayed up there at the top. Faceman up there way higher than he was in season 2. Legendary Bolt making a return A tier. That rounds out A tier. So we got 11 players in S tier, A tier right now, and we got a couple players close there on the cusp. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure last season we didn't have as many players like at the high end of B tier. I feel like we had a lot of players. There's like a big gap between 1,700 and then a big gap in like maybe 1,650. So it's good to see that there's more players filling in a more continuous distribution of elos than rather having some big gaps at the very top. The biggest gap we have right now, I think, is Remke to Krasi and like 50 elo points or whatever that is. But yeah, very, very competitive leaderboard. You don't have as many players on it as we did in season 2. We're still three players away from 100 players. That's pretty impressive. And there's just been a lot of people grinding out the ladder. You see Schaub's up there with like, what is this, 100 and something games.
105.
Clutch, I know, plays a bunch. Yeah. So
I'm only at 82 this season. I'm slowing down.
Sam Ann at 140. He's up there in B tier. You see a lot of these players that were considered definitely mid tier last season. Sam Ann, Super 63, Maury, some of those players definitely making the very close to the top of B tier, looking to push into A tier very soon, hopefully for them.
Yeah, and like look, I have last season's pulled up. There were 258 players that got to 5 ranked games, which that's going to be tough to beat, I think, in the future. We'll see. Obviously, hopefully down the road we could beat that pretty easily. But there's probably going to be less players this season. But we were looking at some of the game totals, and there's still like a similar amount of games, if not more. So kind of what you're seeing is, a little smaller playing base, but a lot of the people in it are more active and playing more games, which is a healthy sign. So it'll be interesting to see like who continues to move up. I didn't know if we were going to go into like stars on at all, but just kind of looking at stars off, what I've kind of noticed is like Balam transfer, made top 8 in PSS. We've seen Flatbread both in stars off and stars on. He's top 20. I think he's top 5 in stars on now.
Number 4 in stars on right now.
Yeah, like he's kind of leveled up with especially his hitting. He's really good with Toadsworth, really good with DK, really good with Toadette. He kind of picks those 3 characters almost every game. So just from playing him, we played a few weeks ago, just like a bunch of stars on games, and like we were alternating who was winning, and he can definitely hold his own in stars on now. So, but yeah, it's kind of been fun to see. A lot of newer players kind of get their chance to shine. I think a lot of like S and A tier players last season, like myself, like Matty Ice Standards, there's a few others, like because some of the Dinger City, just we haven't played as much. I think just because maybe the motivation has dropped a little bit, or we've gotten busier, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see if some of us can get back up to that level. But it's been cool to see a lot of new players get their chance to shine.
Yeah, I was going to say stars on is a lot more spread out. Boomerang Bros up at S tier at 1965 to top it, and then Toasty's second at 1777. Remke's at 1750. So I mean, not as many games played in stars on as stars off, so there's probably a lot more variability with RD. That means those elos can change pretty quickly. But I was going to go back to stars off of kind of people that were there last season. So top 10 players that currently aren't in the top 10. Cactus is outside, only played 9 games, and well, actually no, technically he is in the top 10. He's just not up higher. Hells is not there because he hasn't played a ton. He's only 6-1 right now. Jason's not there. I don't even know if he's on the board right now. Cheeky not playing the game right now. Mr. Joe, I don't know how much he's played stars off ranked. I don't even know if he's on the board. Matty Ice is very much on the board, but he's down around 20 right now. Thanner's similar spot, like 25 games played, down around 20. So those are some notable names that, like you said, they made up your top 10 last season. That just, for the most part, it's not that they've fallen off. It's just they haven't made their climb up the board yet. And so it'll be interesting to see what people do as the season draws on, and they try and solidify their positionings for the next MPSS, which will be in October. And by the time we're wrapping up this season, I know we were talking about having a shorter season. I'll be curious to see if we stick with that, or what it kind of looks like timeline wise. Any last thoughts, Matt or Vic, before we wrap it up tonight?
I didn't know if Vickles wanted to get into stars on leaderboard, but I think I'm excited to join the leaderboard with the Bowser's, the Wrestle at the Castle. See where I end up. I feel like I could. I mean, I feel like I played a good game, Big Ball. So I'm feeling more confident in my stars on ability, and I'm excited to join the leaderboard in that case.
Yeah, I think that'll be nice for the tournament. Hopefully, you'll get a lot more people on the leaderboard. Yeah, probably the only big thing I've noticed in Stars on is Stuff Flatbread and Maury have both really shot up into the top 10 here. I think Stuff Flatbread's going to be the 3 seed in the Bowser Castle tournament. So be interested to see how they perform, and yeah, just try to get more people on the leaderboard with events like this and other things going on. So.
It's definitely event driven. And like I said, not having as many people on the board as last season, bit concerning. But like I said, once you run the numbers, realizing that the amount of games really hasn't tapered off, it just means that after the huge influx of participants we got into the server back in February, March, that kind of drove how many players were on that leaderboard. Those that have stayed have been really committed and are really contributing to the health of the net play scene right now. But in terms for us here on the pod, that'll wrap us up for this week. Hopefully you'll start seeing some other names that start popping back up. We've had a lot of vacations lately. Like I said, Raviannn was out today. So make sure to keep tuning in here on Raviann's channel on YouTube. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to like us all those places. Head over to YouTube and make some comments no matter where you watch or listen to us. We always love seeing your comments and want to respond to them the following week. But otherwise, that'll do it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. And as Raviannn always says, adios and goodbye.
Thank you for watching the Mario Superstar Baseball podcast. If you enjoyed this one, you can look at the other one that will be right in front of you right here. Yes, right in front of your face. Make sure to watch that episode. I'm not lying. Please watch that episode. It's right in front of you. Just click the goddamn button.